Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now today we're looking at some high-rise images of Gale Crater and particularly the lower slopes of Mount Sharp. Now the lower slopes of Mount Sharp are the area where the Forbidden City is, and I'm going to show you some of this city, not this particular part but other parts of it, from above, from the high-rise camera on the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. Now that's one of the most powerful cameras ever built, and I think probably the second most powerful camera in space at this moment. It's absolutely huge. It's so large, in fact, you could crawl inside it. It's massive. Now, these images are quite big, some of them, but if you don't want to download the big images yourself, you can look at the image in JPEG format here. You can download some of these. I would recommend the color one here, which is pretty cool. I've got the color one here. I'm going to show you that now very quickly because this gives you a rough idea of what we're going to be looking at. Now, this particular one has got Mount Sharp this way round. In other words, we have this dark blue area at the bottom. This is near where the rover is, okay? The rover is down here, and the city, unfortunately, a lot of it is off screen here. It's just here, right? So this particular image doesn't actually show the lower part of the Forbidden City that I wanted to show you, which is a shame. But we got the valley that goes up here, and the part of the image to look at is up here. Now on this particular image, this is one of the lower res ones, one of the low res JPEGs. You're not going to see much detail. When you zoom in, you can't see a lot here. So what I've done is I've downloaded the high res bigger images, which are on the same page. If you go down to here, we've got a black and white one, which is the one I'm going to show you in a minute. That's the best one, the best detail, but it's in black and white, not in color. The other one, which I'm going to show you, is the RGB color one here, which is nice, but not as detailed as the black and white, okay? Now, there's various different ones you can try yourself if you want to check these out, but you will need something like HiView to view these in, which I've got here. I'll put a link in the description for HiView so you can download it. It's free, and it's basically for viewing very large images like this, okay? This is almost a gigabyte, this one. I mean, it's absolutely massive. So the area I'm showing you is not where the rover is, it's actually further up the mountain. And I've got a load of clips from this area of parts of the Forbidden City, okay? But most of it's much further up, and we cannot see it from where the rover is because it's out of shot. Now, we have here what looks like a load of sand, which it is, but when you come further up the mountain, you start to see some weird stuff. And then if you look down here, you can see the city area, or at least part of the city area, that we can't see from the ground. I'll go in closer. Now this is very dark, so you're not going to see it very well. So I'll show you some clips of this in a second. But this is part of it I'm going to show you here. We have these structures here on the left. These are huge, some of these. And we have a row of structures here, which are in like a grid pattern. Now, first of all, I'm going to show you some of the clips in color, from the color image. And then I'm going to show you the ones taken from the black and white image, which are actually more detailed. First of all, let's look at that area. Now that's part of the area I just showed you on the actual large image. We've got a lot of sand dunes up here, but if you look carefully, ignore the sand dunes, which are coming across the image this way. We've got these grids here. We've got a grid here. Okay, and if you can see that, you can see these grid patterns coming down here. Loads of squares in a row. Right? Now a lot of that is sand that's drifted across. We've got these lines coming across laterally, okay? But then we have this thing here, this area here. Now, it doesn't show up very well in that one, so I'm going to show you another one, another clip of that, which is a bit closer. And you can see that there are rows of structures here, ruins, okay? Just here. Now some of it is filled in with sand, and may well be very ancient, okay, but there's a bunch of structures there, okay. There's another view of it here, which may be better or not. That's the same area. I'll put all these in at the end of the video so you can actually look through them properly. It's a bit hard to go through all these because there's so many images I've got here that it's difficult to actually get it across. Now here's another area where we have a bunch of structures here. This one up here has got like a round part in the middle of it. There's a bunch of structures there, okay. You've got a whole bunch of structures here, look. Totally square in a row. 1, 2, 3, there's another bunch there. There's loads of structures in here. You can see that these are ancient ruins. They're not just random rocks. A lot of this is rock, of course, but a lot of these ruins, I think, were initially carved straight out of the bedrock. In other words, the culture carved right into the mountain and made huge structures of the rock from the mountain, which is always the most efficient way of doing it. Okay, so now those colour ones aren't as clear if you ask me. I'm trying to show you the best ones here, and it's a bit hard to get your head round. We've got a whole bunch of square structures here. We've got one here, one here, one here, and one here, and then one there. But a lot of this is filled in with sand. The sand has drifted over a lot of it. Okay, the black and white ones I think were the clearest here, where you can see those square structures again, but in more detail. In other words, you can zoom in further, and you've got these walls here. So we've got a square building there, we've got another one here, we've got another one here, we've got another one here, we've got another one here. They're all over the place. Once you start looking, in between some of these more randomly shaped structures and natural geography, we have bunches of square buildings. Now, like I've said before, I don't think that most of the buildings that the Martians built were actually square or rectangular, but some of these are. Okay? As I've shown before, a lot of the structures I've shown are dome-shaped. They're sort of oval-shaped, or they're random. They're more sort of organic shapes, polygonal shapes. And often, it seems that a lot of their structures were built in almost like a honeycomb structure. They weren't necessarily square. They were sort of square or sort of rectangular, but they're all kind of built up together in blocks. And that's kind of what we have here, but these are much more rectangular and squarer than a lot I've shown before. You can actually see in here a lot of these rectangles. But basically what I'll do is I'll quickly show you some of these, because there's so many of these in the area, I really couldn't show you them all in one video. I mean, there's too many. We have square structures here. Multiple square and rectilinear structures. Okay? They're all over the place. These are ruins. And they're not in very good condition, a lot of them. But that's what they are. These are ruins. These are not just random structures. I'm sure some people will try and make out that they are. But, you know, if you show a picture of a banana on YouTube, someone will come along and tell you it's an orange. So there we are. This is the nature of the beast, I'm afraid. But these are definitely buildings. You can actually see, if you go in a bit closer, you can actually see, if you look at the shadows, you can actually see where the walls have collapsed here. Just here, you can see that's collapsed down there. And you can see the internal structures as well inside them, right? So we've got the main outer rectangular parts and then inner walls as well, and smaller structures. Now, the scale for these images is a little bit hard to work out, but the main image on the main page, it does tell you. Let's go back to the main page here. Each pixel represents 25 centimeters. In other words, so if you count 4 pixels, that makes it 1 meter, okay? So every 4 pixels is 1 meter. And the main image, the large black and white image, which is this one, which is 754 megabytes, is 5 kilometers wide. Unfortunately, a lot of these structures don't show up very well at all in the smaller images. You need to download the largest one, really, to see these in any real detail. Because if you look at the detail in this one, this is taken from the black and white image, and then compare it to the the colour image, it's a different ball game. The colour image here, which is the browse JPEG, doesn't show these in any great detail at all. In fact, a lot of this isn't even shown at all in this image at all, because this is narrower. This is a narrow strip of the larger image. Okay, so the detail in this is nowhere near as good, but you can see some of it. You can see these grid-like patterns here and here, and there's a bunch over here as well, but not in any detail at all. It's very pixelated, and but this is the general area to look at. Okay, so you've got to really look at the larger images to get to see any of this stuff in detail, and it's quite astonishing when you look at it. And this is one of my favourite parts. Now that's the part I just showed you on the previous image. We've got this line of little structures here, but none of this shows up very well in that JPEG, the browse JPEG. You can hardly see any of it, but when you get the black and white image like this one, which I've actually colour filtered slightly, you can see all these hundreds and hundreds of structures, and this is a city. Okay, I know it's a city because you can see parts of it from the ground from the Curiosity Rover. So if you go in close, we've got this part here, which I showed you earlier. You can see the wall sticking up. See that? There's a wall there, the wall coming around there, and we've got multiple structures down here. But this part here was interesting. Now this looks almost like a sort of random patterns, but it's not. A lot of this is built into. Now they may not all be square, but like I said, a lot of the structures on Mars are not square or rectangular. Some of them are, but some of them are much more organically shaped. In other words, they're using the natural topography of the mountain and then carving straight into it. And the walls they're building are not necessarily all straight. Some of them are curved and some of them aren't. But you can definitely tell that these are structures here, carved into the mountain. Okay, there's loads of them, and you can see here these straight lines going across here. So some of this may have been terracing where they were planting stuff as well at some point. Some of this terracing here. So some of these may actually be plots where they were growing stuff on the mountainside when it was a wet planet many, many thousands of years ago. But we got loads of these grid-like patterns everywhere. And the best part was this bit, really, because you can actually see them up close. These are larger, so they look bigger in the image, so you can actually see them better. But those are definitely structures, and you can see those shapes there. In fact, what I'll do is I'll switch it to negative for you, and you can see those squares here, see? Looks like snow now, but let's darken that up a bit. Let's go dark, let's go nice and dark. We'll see those squares pop out. There we are. See the squares there? A whole bunch of them together. And unfortunately, a lot of this is drifted in sand, and it's filled a lot of the detail in. But if you look at, I promise you, if you look at these images, you will find a lot of these structures. You've just got to keep looking and take your time. So I'll put clips of all these in at the end. Basically, there's so much here. There's too much to show you. Really, there's too much to show all in one go. But there's those structures closer up. You can actually see the walls here. See that wall? You've got the inner structure there and here. That wall's kind of curved, where it's partially collapsed. Then we got another wall here, another one here, another one here, and one curves around there. So they're not all square and rectangular, but they're walls. You can see they're walls. And a lot of the area has filled in with sand, unfortunately, like most of Gale Crater and Mars. Because of the huge sandstorms, things tend to fill up with sand, hiding a lot of this stuff, right? But let's show one of the colour clips of that, actually. You can see those in the colour image, which look pretty good, but there's not as much detail here. You can see them there in colour. And we've got all the blue sand that's drifted across here. So there's loads of crazy stuff here. So if you want to see the city, look at the images, download them, download high view and take your own clips and you will see what I'm seeing. You just need to brighten them up and add a bit of contrast. That's all you have to do. Blur the images a little bit if you're going to enlarge them. Get rid of some of the pixelation, just a tiny bit of blur, and they will look better. Otherwise, when you zoom in, right in, they will break up. But basically, this is a city. And some of these structures are absolutely huge, but a lot of them are quite small. And some of these here are very small. You can see the grid-like pattern here. And this corresponds to what we're seeing from the rover on the ground. And I've got a sort of map here. Basically, the area we're looking at in these images that I just showed you is up here. Now, the Forbidden Cities, actually, the bit we can see is right down here, to the right of where the rover is going, right? It's here. Now, unfortunately, the images that we've got, or I've got here, of Mount Sharp, so far, are only covering this part. They're not covering this bit where a lot of the city is. But we can see some of it up here, because I think the city goes right up to this area, much higher up. And a lot of what we're seeing is up here, okay? So I would imagine that this city would sprawl right up and round Mount Sharp, probably right round to here as well, but we haven't got yet images of that part exactly. I am looking, and if I do find more images, I will publish straight away and show you what I found. Because basically, I'm absolutely convinced that this part of Mount Sharp is a massive city, and we're only seeing parts of it. Because basically, the images are taken in strips, and unfortunately the strip image we're looking at today doesn't cover all of it. It only covers part, like this, okay? So there we are. So thanks for watching, everybody. It's a bit confusing and difficult for me to actually try and show this stuff because the image is so big that you can't really show it in a video. The only way you can really look at it is to basically download it and check it out yourself. So thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you soon.